Hi, and welcome back. The next song which we're going to discuss is Imagine by John Lennon. Now, Imagine by John Lennon was released in 1971, and the song was basically a question to society, asking people to picture a world without war and where everyone was at peace. It inspired people to overcome fears, stereotypes, and divides and accept one another for themselves. So, John Lennon was a singer, songwriter, and former member of the Fab Four, the Beatles. He released the song in 1971 following his split from the Beatles, and the song was heavily inspired by poems that his then wife Yoko Ono wrote. Coming at a time of great global and personal conflict, Lennon hoped that the song would encourage people to set aside their differences and make peace with each other. In 1971, during a time of great unrest and crises in the world, with the Cold War, the Iron Curtain, and economic trouble in Europe and the UK, there were high tensions and short fuses. Although Imagine did not perform well at the time, Lennon hoped to remind people of the song's main message to imagine a world in peace, without war, religion, where you could follow your dreams. At the time of its release, over 50 years ago in the USA, Imagine actually did not perform that well. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1971 and peaked in the UK at number 6 in 1975 when it was released in the UK. Since its initial release, over 200 different artists have performed or covered the track, including Sir Elton John, Diana Ross, and Madonna. Although no major changes, ideals, thoughts, or impact came about the song's message at the time, it certainly set the wheel in motion. It prompted people to stop and think about a world of peace. Despite its age, it's a song with ideas that are very much relevant in the present day. Now, let's analyze some of its lyrics. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. This is the first verse of the song. Lenin asks people to imagine a world without heaven and hell, without heaven in the sky and hell below us. The idea of our deeds rewarding or condemning us after we die is of no use. He follows by asking us to imagine all the people living for today, making people ponder what a world would look like if people lived in the present. The idea of a life where no afterlife is present to dictate our actions and a life lived in the current moment is foreign to most everyone. Yet, that is what Lenin is asking us to do. With there being no salvation or damnation after death, one is forced to live in the present and live each day to its fullest. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. So, this next part of the song represents Lenin's message of unity, a world with no countries, no war, and no religion. Firstly, a world with no countries implies a world without borders and no border conflict. No countries means no form of cross border international conflict and no restrictions. An open world which anyone can explore. In 1971, the Vietnam War was underway, and so this sought to show people, make them imagine a world without countries. If there were no countries, then there would be no war. Most major wars about conquest, territory, and global control expansion would not take place. The world would be a more peaceful place. Next, Lenin asks us to imagine a world without religion. This was an incredibly controversial line, as over 80% of the world's population is religious. Religious conflict, differences, and intolerance are some of the most debated, controversial, and serious matters in the 21st century. A world without religion would mean a world without such controversy and divide. However, it would also mean the loss of one of humankind's oldest and arguably fundamental principles. For over 7 billion people, religion is the source of faith, belief, and for some, even livelihood. And although it may be a topic of divide, it is also a source of strength and provides hope to people. So, by telling people to imagine a world without religion, borders, and of peace, he is making them contemplate their existence and how the world may be a better place without them. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. In this segment of Imagine, Lenin mentions how he is a dreamer. Typically, dreamer can mean daydreamer, someone who daydreams a lot. Lenin's ideas and message that he embodied through the song seem mad, and this is his response. He says that even though he daydreams of a world where all of his ideas are real, and that others did too, he was not the only one. Moreover, he expresses his wishes that others may join him, and those like him soon. Him picturing this alone would not work. But if everyone in the world did, then the unity and sense of brotherhood and companionship that accompanied the peace would, quote, make the world one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. The final part of the song talks about possession and ownership. This again reflects the earlier themes of no religion, borders, and living in the present. Hunger here could mean two things: literally hunger, the want for food, or metaphorical hunger, or greed. Greed and want often lead to conflict. Want of power, greed for land. So, no need for greed and hunger means no lust or want is necessary. The world is united, with society coming together and supporting each other rather than cutting each other down. And in such a world, everyone has a full stomach. Such a place where people are sharing all the world. The world does not belong to any one person, but rather is ours. In the long run, despite its lackluster performance during its initial release in the 70s, Imagine is now considered to be one of the most famous, impactful, and greatest songs ever written. After Lennon's death, the song charted at number 1 on the UK singles chart and has returned to global charts after most every major human calamity ever since. Over 200 artists have covered the song, and it has been ranked number 3 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time, and has even earned a Grammy Hall of Fame award. Modern day, it is considered a classic and is a symbol for hope, resilience, and the strength to continue. Belief that time will change things for the better. As I mentioned earlier, the geopolitical climate, Lennon's own personal feelings and state, as well as the influence of his wife, Yoko Ono, prompted the song to be released. 1971 was a time of great political upheaval and violence, with the Vietnam War and Cold War in progress, and Europe experiencing financial problems. Although I wasn't there myself, I believe that Lennon picked up on this, and seeing how this followed his recent split with the other members of the Beatles, was quite inspired by his wife's poetry. Imagine was a tribute to a hope, a seemingly fever dream that one day humankind could set aside their differences and live together in harmony, much like how they would if religion, borders, and greed did not exist.